If you're ever attacked by a group of clowns, go for the jugular. All right. Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Liberty Dad Podcast, a discussion on politics and culture. I'm your host, DL, America's most objective libertarian. For tuning in live, thank you so much for giving me your time so early. And thank you so much for dealing with that terrible joke. I decided I'm going to make some changes to this podcast. Nothing too dramatic. But since I do the quote every morning, and I usually try to make the quote kind of like somewhat related to the show in some way. But I think on Fridays for Dad Talk, I think I'm just going to find dad jokes. just now they don't have to be related. I mean, maybe if I'm lucky, I can find a dad joke that's related to the topics at hand. But if not, I'm just going to make dad jokes and they won't be mine because I don't do comedy. I know, right? Like, wait a minute, what? DL, you don't do dad jokes? I mean, I probably do, like in the moment. And so there's probably some of those. My wife will tell you that I think I'm a comedian and I'm not. So there's that. But generally speaking, no, I am not a comedian. Oh, why is this thing not working? Oh, okay, I see what's going on. So I'm trying to get some of my windows here where they need to be. Um, that way I can see everything I need to see from all you beautiful people out there. Okay, so today I'm just going to talk about some dads that are in the news and we'll just kind of give you some of my thoughts. That's it. So what does dad talk about? If you're like I got some new subscribers, some new followers, so welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Here's what I do Monday through Friday. I talk politics, right? Like Monday I do my bill reviews. Wednesday I try to aim for having my 47 weekly, where I talk about, kind of what's Donald Trump been up to lately. What should we, was he said, was he done? Did he sign anything? Did he say something? Whatever, those kind of things. And then Tuesday and Thursday, those are just kind of up in the air, right? Like whatever I see in the news that's interesting, related to politics and whatnot, that's what I talk about. Well, Friday is where we step away from the politics a little bit and we try to focus on dads, just dad related stuff. Um, and normally what I try to do is get a dad on the show, and I've been a little behind. There's a couple dads that I need to reach out to and say, "Yo, come on my show." One is actually already agreed to. I just need to work on getting him on the show, and then the other guy is somebody that just popped up in my feed, and I haven't seen in a while. And I was like, you know what? He's a new dad. Well, he's not really a new dad, but he's like a newish dad. It's a guy that I knew for a number of years now, and so I gotta reach out to him and see if he'll be willing to jump on the show. And then we talk about whatever dads wanna talk about. That's how I raise dad voices. So, if you know a dad or you are a dad and you wanna talk about it doesn't matter what, like, if you wanna talk about technology, right? Like, let's just say you're in tech and you're like, "Man, I love tech and I can't wait to introduce my son or my daughter to, the joys of technology," or, whatever. Or maybe you're into fitness and you look forward to, doing fitness related activities with your kid. You're like, "We're going to go running all the time, blah blah blah, whatever. We're going to run marathons." That's cool. Like, right? Whatever. Whatever it is. Maybe you're struggling with something. We've had, let's see, is it two dads now? Yes, 2 dads have been on the show who both had mental health issues. They both had, um, uh, drawing a blank on it. I just had it. Uh, Bipolar. They both had bipolar, right? And they wanted to just talk about it. And it wasn't like we weren't like weeping and sad and so it was just like, "Hey, what's your challenge?" "Oh, this is my challenge. This is what I do. This is how I work around it. Blah blah blah." "Oh, okay, cool." Right? So, whatever you want to talk about, that's what we talk about. But when I don't have a dad, then I try to keep it related to dads in some way and kind of step away from the politics. So the first dad, today I'm just doing some dads that I saw in the news. I saw several of them. So this first one is kind of sad, actually. So let's play this video. This video has been going around as of yesterday, I believe. I think that's when it first hit social media, and boy, did it go around. So here's a dad. Presumably, I believe he's a dad just based on the information that I put out that I've seen out there. So here it is. All right, you probably saw this
Yeah.
video.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. I'm not quite sure.
Uh oh. Uh oh. What happened? So apparently, the CEO of some tech company was out at a Coldplay concert, and you saw him, he's hugging a woman. We all initially look and we're like, "Oh, it's a nice moment with his girlfriend or his wife." Well, it appears that it was indeed with his girlfriend and that he is married. So this man apparently was out at a Coldplay concert with several of his employees. It's hard. I don't like. There's a lot of speculation, but so far it seems like there's only two of them. The woman that he was hugging, which is his HR manager, and then another woman that was standing there next to him. You probably saw it in the video where she's kind of got her hand up to her face and she's kind of laughing like, "Oh, we got busted." So that woman is also some like higher level employee at the company. So apparently at least one other person knew about it. And so then now what you don't see in that video, apparently from what I've read, uh Coldplay after that, like, just right after the end of that clip, he was like, "Man," like, said, "Oh, crap, I'm sorry, I guess we did something bad," or whatever. So I think he acknowledged, like, "Uh-oh, we done shined a spotlight on somebody unintentionally." So all they were doing is they just had this camera going around, and then they pick somebody out, and then or two people or whatever, and then they talk about it. And the camera just happened to go on them, and then they happen to realize, oh my God, we're on this big, huge cam for everybody to see. And the story that I can tell is the man is married. It seems like he's got several kids from a photo that's going around. I'm not going to show you the photo because I don't think it's appropriate to show the wife and the children. I kind of debated whether or not I'd even show the video, but it's been shown so much at this point. I'm not really showing anybody anything new. I mean, maybe if you're not on social media, but like this is like it's out there. And so I was just going to talk about it. What was interesting, and I was trying to find it this morning, and for whatever reason, I can't seem to find it. But there was a letter. Okay, don't. Okay, good lord. Sometimes you have to watch your searches on. I'm glad I don't have it on the screen. I was searching cheating dad on Twitter. There was a few images there that I was not looking for sure. Um, but let me see if let's see if we can't find this because supposedly he had a comment that he came out with, and I was looking to see where this commentary. But as far as the man is, this he was supposedly out with 3 employees, right? One that he's cheating on his wife with, and then apparently people found his wife's Facebook account, and we're just blasting her messages, and we're like, "Oh, this is your husband. You need to leave him." Blah blah blah. I don't know that I would have done that, folks. That just like I get it. I understand what you guys are trying to do. You're trying to say, "Hey, this guy is not being a good husband. Did you know about this? You should know." I get that. The problem that I have with it is it's really intrusive into somebody's life. And just imagine, here it is. Here's what I'm looking for. Just imagine being a wife, getting on Facebook, and then the whole world out of nowhere is like, "Hey, your husband's a cheater." Like like there's no good way to find out. But I just feel like that would just almost be insult to injury. Right? Like you were not only cuz I mean, think here's how they normally say with cheating. Um when somebody's cheating, usually other people know about it. Some other people like some friends or whoever, right? And so the spouse, that's getting cheated on, they tend to be the last person to find out in a sense. And imagine not only being the last person in some small circle of it, but the last person on the planet. Like that just I feel like it would make you very small. Now, supposedly he came out with a statement. I'm going to read it. He said, "I want to acknowledge the moment that's been circulating online and the disappointment it's caused. What was supposed to be a night of music and joy turned into a deeply personal mistake playing out on a very public stage. I want to sincerely apologize to my wife, my family, and the team at Astronomer. This is where he works. You deserve better from me as a partner, as a father, and as a leader." Okay, so it does say father. And I presume this is a real statement. I haven't verified it 100%, but it seems pretty legit. "This is not who I want to be or how I want to represent the company I helped build. I'm taking time to reflect." Man, they always say this. "I'm taking time to reflect, to take accountability, and to figure out the next steps personally and professionally. I ask for privacy as I navigate that process. I also want to express how troubling it is that what should have been a private moment became public without my consent. I respect artists and entertainers, but I hope we can all think more deeply about the impact of turning someone else's life into a spectacle. As a friend once sang, lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. Andy." His name is Andy Byron. So if that's real, okay, all of that was garbage. All of it. It's just a canned statement. So here's do you remember Sandra Bullock? And uh Uh, see me. I'm trying to find something at the very last minute. Okay, remember Sandra Bullock, America's sweetheart is what she used to be called, and she was previously married to Jesse James. when it was found out, when it came out that he had cheated on her, here's what he said: "I deserve everything bad coming my way. It is because of my poor judgment that I deserve." Yeah, that's what it. The full statement is, "It's because of my poor judgment that I deserve everything bad that's coming my way." That is the only kind of statement we should accept in society. We should stop accepting canned answers. Now, again, I don't know 100% that it's a statement from him. It seems pretty. It's going around. Sometimes things go around a lot faster than the truth, and then maybe a couple days later you find out, oh, that wasn't real. Um, but I'm gonna treat it as real right now, just because it just seems that way. And so if it is, like, dude, you're already not getting your act together. The only answer you should say is, "I deserve anything that's bad that's happening, and I'm gonna step away from the light and try to work this out." That's it. I don't wanna hear anything else. I don't wanna hear about deeply personal. I don't wanna hear about it was a moment. Like, it sounds like he's just really pissed because he got caught. That's how it reads. And so I'm like, "No." Like, I've talked about this before. We should look at men in our society. We should raise them up, right? We should think highly of them. We should also have retain our high expectations. You're a man, act like one. You made a mistake, you own it. You don't give me any of this legally, this legal lawyerly language. I don't want to hear it. Just straight up, just be like, I screwed up. I deserve whatever happens. Period. That's it. That's how I'm raising my kid, right? Like, and I tell him that already. He's 6. I mean, we don't talk about cheating because it'd be weird. But what we talk about is owning your actions. And so I tell him, I'm like, number one, don't do anything you don't want to have to admit to, right? If you are going to have to lie about it, you probably shouldn't do it in the first place. It's pretty simple. It's basic. Number 2, sometimes you get in trouble and you own it. You take your licks, like he got in trouble with his mama the other day. I don't remember what he did, but he did something. He got in trouble and I was like, "Hey, take your licks." You know? It's the way it goes. Sometimes you just do something wrong. Now, hopefully my son will never do something that egregious, because I think that cheating on your spouse is pretty serious, you know? But I think we need to have this expectation in society that when men fail, they own it, and we don't wanna hear any of this clever language. All we wanna hear is, "I screwed up. I'm owning it. I will go figure out what needs to happen from this point forward." That's it. So that's kind of I don't really have a whole lot to say. I don't know much about his family. I will say this. Um, some people have posted a picture that seems to be of his wife and his several kids. And they're like, and his wife's not unattractive. And so a lot of people are like, "Oh man, he really messed up." And people have a tendency to do this. Like, you'll see somebody cheat and you'll find out like who's their wife, and they'll have a very beautiful wife and you're like, "Wow, I can't believe he did that." Okay, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Like, if a man has an ugly wife, and I don't really, I hate to say it that way, but just so we get the point, if a man has an ugly wife, that is not an excuse to cheat. Okay, if he has an overweight wife, that is not an excuse to cheat. It's not worse for cheating because he had a pretty wife. Like, that doesn't make it worse. We shouldn't see it that way. We should look at it and say, "Dude, that's unacceptable behavior. You gave somebody a commitment. You honor your word," which is also something I teach my son. Like, if you tell somebody that you're going to do something or not do it, then follow through. You have your. It's like, how's that go from? I'm gonna quote Scarface, the movie, with Tony Montana, right? He said, "All I have in this world are is my word and my balls, and I don't break them for anybody." Right? And that's kind of how I expect men to be. You don't break your word. If your word says you're going to do something, then do it. If you said you're not going to do something, then don't do it. And we should, and look, there are varying degrees. If you If I tell my wife, "Yes, I'll take out the laundry," out of the, I'll swap the laundry from the washer to the dryer today. Yes, I should keep my word because I said I was gonna do something. However, if I forget or I get busy or whatever, and then it doesn't happen, it's not that serious, but I still did promise to do something, and so I should figure out how to make it right. So in that particular case, it's, on the smaller scale, right? But if you tell somebody like, "Hey, I'm gonna love you forever," and through, in sickness and in health, so on and so forth, and then you go and cheat on that person, well, then that's a huge error on your part. And so you definitely, are gonna have to deal with it's gonna be much bigger to deal with than not swapping the laundry over. But at the end of the day, we need to have the same attitude that, hey, your word is your word. And the only difference is the in between promising to swap over the laundry and promising to be monogamous. The only difference between those is the degree and severity when you don't do it. That's the only difference. But at the end of the day, keep your word. That should be how we do it. And then own it. Just walk away. That's how I don't want to see guys cheat, but I do want to see you own it and say, look, my failure. End of story. Skip all that other language. All right, so I think I've had enough of that. Let me see. You know what? I'm just gonna do things a little differently here. We will check out the chat now, and we'll just do chat as we go along because this is a little bit less formal, right? We're just gonna be chill. So let's, maybe we can even do some chat music over here. See what you guys are up to. Do. What do we got here? Yes. My VA lady, as always, points out, do me a solid, hit the thumbs up on the way in, and don't forget to share the live stream. Make sure to subscribe or follow. If you're watching me from YouTube, then subscribe. If you're watching me from Rumble, then follow. If you're watching me from somewhere else, I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. You can follow me on X if you're watching from there as well. You can also follow me on Facebook. Facebook all is the where I tune in the least though. So just so you know. Let's see what else we got in the comments here. DL got jokes this morning. Yeah, they're not good ones, but I got jokes. Let's see. Yep, Dad Joke Fridays. That's what it's going to be. Dad Joke Fridays. Make a joke. I've actually started bookmarking things when I see them. I'm like, oh, that's a funny joke. I better bookmark that for my dad for my show. Yes, Eric and his wife are due to have a baby in 2 weeks. I told Eric we want him on the podcast in exactly 1 month so we can get him raw and tired. So a friend of mine and fellow libertarian who ran for office here in Jacksonville, he happened to move because, an opportunity came their way and they couldn't turn it down. He is having a child. That's exciting. So he'll have to be on the show. Yes, it is an HR violation, I think, which is wild because the lady was the HR manager or something like that. So, John McLaughlin, thank you again for tuning in. I saw that you came in, I believe, yesterday. So enjoy that. Happy Friday to you as well, Kagela. I think that's how you say it. If you're gonna have an interesting name in there, you should have I'm just joking about this, but you should have like a pronunciation guide for me so I can read it. Just kidding. Don't do that. Just kidding. All right, let's see. Let's get on to this next story. What do we got here? So this one is actually two sets of stories. So let me put it up on the screen for you guys to see it. Where are we here? There we go. Okay. So I saw this on social media. I'm going to read it to you guys. So Medford ghost gun bust. Cops seize 112 untraceable weapons, 12 3D printers. A Medford steam fitter stockpiled. Let me zoom in on this a little bit more so you guys can see it. More than 100 untraceable ghost guns and turned his home into a makeshift firearms factory, Suffolk County authorities said. Daniel Probeck, 35, was arrested after investigators raided his house following a months-long joint investigation by the Suffolk County District's Attorney's Office and Suffolk County Police Department. Prosecutors said that the father of two had been operating the illegal gun lab out of the family's Waverly Avenue home going back to at least March. It's the largest ghost gun seizure in Suffolk County history, Attorney Raymond Tierney said during a court authorized search, detectives recovered 112 unserialized ghost guns, 67 firearm suppressors, 12 desktop 3D printers, industrial machinery for milling lower receivers, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and assorted weapon parts. Accessory gun features banned in New York, such as threaded barrels, pistol grips, and telescoping stocks. There's a picture of Daniel Probeck, 35. Let's see. Prosecutors said undercover officers purchased multiple firearms with Probeck during the investigation, including 3 AR style rifles. Scary. Very similar to this other story here. New York man convicted of possessing ghost guns maintains he had every right to have them. You might be familiar with this story. A quiet, studious man living in Brooklyn was actually the builder and owner of a trove of ghost guns. He said it was a hobby and that he was hurting no one. He said he was well within his rights to possess the unregistered, unlicensed weapons. Video shows an up close look at the intense raid that ended in his arrest. Let's see. With a search warrant, members of an elite NYPD unit forced their way into Taylor's Bushwick residence on April 6, 2022. What followed was an hours long search of his packed home, which was found loaded with ghost guns. This is Dexter Taylor. I believe I did a show on that a while back. Um, Taylor said he was laying in bed around 6 a.m. when I hear bang and the voices get louder. He said, I see underneath the crack of my door, I see like weapon lights flickering backwards. So I said, hello, hello, hello. I'm Dexter Taylor. Why are you looking for me? Because I still thought they had the wrong house. Then they said, yeah, we're here for you. So what's going on here, folks? Here's the thing. Two things that I am that I am absolutist with. Number one, freedom of speech. Okay. I'm a free speech absolutist. Unless your speech is like a credible and direct threat, probably going to support it. When I say support, that just means your legal right to say it or to write it, right? Not necessarily meaning that I agree with it. I may disagree with it. There's plenty of speech out there for which I'm like, yep, that's free speech, even though I hate it. That's the first thing. The second thing, firearms, Second Amendment. I'm an absolutist. If you're like, DL, what kind of firearms can I have? The answer is yes. With whatever you were thinking, yes, you should be able to have that. People try to push the buttons and they're like, okay, does that mean somebody should be able to have a nuclear sub? Yes, if you can afford it. What is the likelihood that most people can afford it? Like 0. If you're a billionaire, you might be able to afford one. Otherwise, you probably can't afford one. So like people get all worked up because they're like, oh, you think everybody should be riding around in subs? Okay, well, these things cost like hundreds of millions of dollars. I just want to point this out. I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars. So I'm not buying a sub anytime soon. In fact, most everybody is not buying a sub anytime soon. Same thing goes with, like, say, a fighter jet. People say, oh, you think Americans should have a fighter jet or a tank? Yes. If you want one, you should be able to have one if you can afford it, but you can't afford it. Now I'm not saying that I agree that you can have one because you can't afford it. So, haha, it's a loophole in my argument. I'm saying objectively, flat out, you can have one. And then when people come squawking, acting as if everybody is going to be riding around in tanks, I'm just going to remind them that they cost hundreds of millions of dollars and not everybody can afford one. So you don't have to worry about everybody driving around in tanks. Now, why am I like this? Why do I believe these things? I believe these things because we should have the freedom of speech to say damn near anything we want to anybody, and then we have to work that out, right? Freedom of speech is about ideas and challenging them. And sometimes you challenge them in, despicable ways. And any idea is on the table to be challenged, even good ideas that I believe in. So I think that you should not like discriminate against somebody based on how they look. So if you come to my house and you're black or white or Asian or brown, maybe you're, Hispanic, maybe you're tall, maybe you're short, whatever. Like none of those characteristics are going to disqualify you from coming into my home. Period. Now, somebody else might say, DL, I think you need to rethink that. And here are some reasons why you should probably only allow people in that have some range of skin color close to you. We'll just put it that way because I'm not technically white, so we can't say white, right? And so they should be free to make that argument, as free as I can go. Yeah, that's a dumb argument. Like I haven't even heard it, but it's probably dumb, right? I have the right to say that right back to them, and I want my right to say that's a stupid idea. And however it comes out, I might say it more politely and more diplomatically, like, you know, I think you might want to reconsider that idea. There's some problems with it. Right? I could say it like that, or I can say it pretty rudely and be like, that is a retarded, idiot idea. And I don't know who thought of it, but you should never talk to them again. Oh, you were okay. Don't talk to yourself ever again, because that's how bad the idea was. Right? Like, I want that freedom. I can't have that freedom if they don't have the freedom to try to convince me that my idea of having, people come into my home, based on, on something other than, immutable characteristics. Like if I don't, like, they should have that right to try to challenge my view. I have the right then to push back or to ignore them. I don't have to say anything. I can be like, okay, just going about my way. Right. So, in defending the right of vile speech, I'm defending my own speech. All right. What about guns? DL, they're ghost guns. They're illegal in New York. It's the law of the law. Okay. Well, guess what? The law is not always right. I review bills almost every Monday, right? We got Bill Review Monday. And I tell you right now, I read a lot of bills that as a lay person, I look at it and I go, that's a bad law. Here's the problems with it, right? But more importantly, I don't just push back on laws because, it's a bad law. I think every man and woman, but this is dad talk, so we're kind of focusing on dads. But I think every man has the right to defend himself. Again, women too. And I think also, if you're a dad, you have the right to defend yourself and your family. And if you have the right to defend yourself and your family, you have the right to choose how you defend them. Now, in the most ideal world, everybody would have a firearm, right? And then we would all be on some level equal. However, let's say that you don't like guns. Let's say you're the MacGyver type dad. For you young people, MacGyver was a show back in the day that I watched when I was a kid growing up. He hated guns, but he was like super smart. It was like before nerds were cool, but he was a nerd. He just knew all the stuff. Like, so he'd be in this bind and he'd grab like a paper clip and then a fire extinguisher and a paper towel. And he would make some sort of like ad hoc weapon to get away. And it would like basically stop the bad guys. He would do stuff like that. And so it was always fun to watch and see, what predicament he would get in and then how he would get out. It wasn't always directed toward bad guys. Sometimes, he would be stuck in a room and he was like, all right, how do I get out of this room? And he would, look and see that he has like, there's like a bottle of bleach over here and a chair and a penny. I'm just making stuff up. But he would like somehow grab it and use it to make some sort of, chemical reaction that would do a thing. Like that's the nature of the show. Right. So let's say you're a MacGyver type dad and you're like, I hate guns, but I will use many other things to defend my family. Great. You should be able to do that. Right. Because I expect that if you're a dad, if you're a father, if you're a husband, that you protect your family and you need to do so in the way that you feel most comfortable. Now, maybe you feel comfortable with an AR-15. You're like, look, it's a lightweight weapon. It's very versatile. That's what I'm going to use. Okay, fine. Maybe you want a handgun. Maybe you want a shotgun for the house, right? Maybe you don't want it. Maybe you're just really into ninjas and you want to have, some katana blades. and you practice and you're like, I'm ready for the bad guy to come in. I'm gonna do a backflip off the banister and land on, on his shoulders and then, cut his arms off. Okay, maybe don't. I'm not trying to be graphic here. I'm just illustrating the point. But in more serious terms, if you want to defend your family with swords, well, then that's your right. You have that. Let's say you don't like using swords or guns, and you just keep a few rocks around the house. You're like, if an intruder comes in, I'm going to hit him with a rock. Okay, right? Maybe I disagree with that is the best option, but it is your option to have. And that is how self defense works. You cannot tell people they have the right to self defense, but then limit their self defense capabilities. Then it's no longer a right. More importantly, I want to keep this more, aligned with dads. I want dads to do the right thing. I want you to not cheat on your spouse, right? I also want you to take care of your kids, spend time with them, but then I also want you to defend them if and when that opportunity arises. I want you to be prepared. And since we mentioned the First Amendment, I want you to give people hell and praise when it's appropriate. This is what I want from dads, from men, right? So I'm going to defend the idea that these guys were printing ghost guns. Now you might object and say, well, DL, they didn't need that many. None of your business how many they needed. Maybe he needed one in every room. Let's see. Do I have? I think I have that video clip. Let me see if I have it. Do I have it? I might. Let me take a look while I'm excuse me, while I'm trying to talk here. I think I have yes. I think this is it. Here we go. I'm gonna play this little clip here. Give me just a second. Let me swap out my clip. Where did it go? Do. I lost it. I lost it. Where did it go? Um oh, there it is. I think we can play it now.
There is only one thing you need to know about karate. Guns beat karate every time.
All right, I didn't have it properly queued up, so I apologize. But point being, that was it. That was a good, like, hey, the kid that's American Dad, and in that episode, the kid wanted to go to karate lessons, and his dad's like, "Look, there's only one thing you need to know about karate: guns beat karate. Bam, here's a gun." Right? Okay. I want dads to work with their families to make the decision that's right for them. Maybe you do put them in martial arts, right? But maybe you also have a firearm. Maybe you don't like firearms. Maybe you have a sword. Maybe you have, something, a stick, a baseball bat. It's up to your family to figure this out. Right? It's not my family that I'm defending. I will defend my family the way I see fit. You defend your family the way you see fit. And this is what I want from dads. I want them to lead their families. They cannot lead if we keep telling them, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. And and that wasn't quite the clip that I wanted to show you. There was actually a better clip where he's showing his family where all the guns are, and he hits the counter, and then the drawer opens and there's like a gun, and he opens the cabinet and there's some guns there, and he opens this and there's a gun, and the wife is like, they're in the kitchen, and the wife's like, I don't remember all these guns in that. And it was just a funny little clip. But he's just basically got guns all over the house. So if you're the kind of dad that, like, you want guns all over your house, because if any room that you're in, you want to be able to quickly grab a firearm and defend the house, great. That's up to you, right? So, I want you, like, my expectation is high for dads. And it only, like, all these laws that say you can't have this, you can't have this, you can only have this, blah, blah, blah. You have to do this in order to get this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All those do is make it difficult for dads to be the dad that I expect them to be the man that I expect them to be. Right. And so I don't care what the law says. I think in this particular case, these men did nothing wrong, and they should be able to, maybe they're doing it for a hobby. Maybe it's a side hustle. They're like, hey, I think that I'm really good at designing and building firearms, 3D printed firearms. So therefore, I'm going to design them for other men, other families or women too, right? Great. Now he's not only helping other people defend their families, potentially at a cheaper cost, but he's also making money for his own family. Great. I support this. Everything that I see from these two stories, from what was his name? Brian? I think is his name, Brian. Let's see here. Daniel. I should have remembered it was my name. From Daniel Probeck, and then also Dexter Taylor. Everything that I see, those men did nothing wrong, right? And I get it. A lot of people want to play law's the law. I promise you, there are laws out there that you don't want somebody to say the law is the law because there are bad laws. That though these laws that put these men in jail are objectively bad laws. And more importantly, they disrupt the kind of society that I want. I want a society where we hold men in high regard, but we also we hold them up in high esteem, right? But at the same time, we have our high expectations. And if they don't meet those expectations, then we thumb our nose at them. That's the society I want. And these laws are getting in the way of the society that I want. So that's what I got to say on that. Let's check out some more comments here, and then we'll go to this last thing. Let's see. Same goes with nukes. The average Joe cannot have access to nuclear material, let alone own one. Correct. And this is how we deal with, because whenever you say I'm against this, people go to the most extreme version of that. So if I say like I don't think there should be licensing laws, people are like, oh, so you think you want a brain surgeon working on your head without a medical license? And I'm like, well, most people aren't going to be trying to work on on my brain. And as I go up in complexity, for things that we currently consider, requiring a license, there are ways to identify whether or not this is the person that I want performing this service, right? Like, it's probably not a big deal if somebody cuts my hair. I mean, I don't have any, but when I had hair, if somebody were to cut my hair who wasn't very good at it, right? The license didn't, and I met people with licenses that cut hair bad. We've met doctors that have licenses that are bad. Those things don't necessarily give you a good quality barber or a surgeon or a doctor or whatever, right? So for me, I just look at it and say, there are other ways to figure out, is this person the right person for this particular thing? You know, um, Money is one of them. Can you afford it? Another one is, and it's like you said, the nuclear weapon. I'm kind of rambling, I think, at this point. Yeah. Anyway, I'll finish up that statement. The uh, a nuclear weapon requires nuclear material. So there's another, like, if you can't even get, like, can you acquire the nuclear material? Well, no. So, like, there's a lot that goes into these things. Is kind of the point that I'm making. Anyway, yes, Time Surfing Alien says it well. An armed society is a polite society. I believe so. And why is that? Why? Like, because a lot of people are like, no, it's not true. It is true. And here's a thought experiment that you can use. I want you to think of a small woman who's maybe, let's just say she's 5 foot tall and she weighs 100 pounds. Okay. And she doesn't know martial arts. She's not some badass ninja. Okay. What is her prospect at taking a man down? Like, none. Like, that 5 foot woman who weighs 100 pounds is going to have trouble with somebody my size, 5'3", 120 pounds. I don't even outweigh her. Like, I'm a guy that's on the smaller side, right? And so imagine if a dude is like 6 foot tall and he weighs like 300 pounds and he's attacking her. She's way, way at a disadvantage. So what does a firearm do? It puts her at the level of being able to defend against any man, no matter his size. And no matter his size, she is now equal in defensive capabilities. In some ways, she out equals him. Is that a word? But in many ways, she may even be, he may have the disadvantage. She may now have the advantage. Okay. And so that's what it means when we say an armed society is a polite society, because it means that we equalize everybody. And you might say, well, what if they have a bigger gun or a gun that shoots faster? Okay, all it takes is one bullet. One bullet can put somebody down. One. Like, so they may have 30 rounds in their magazine, right? And I may have one round in the chamber, and that's it. Maybe my magazine is empty. And I still have a strong possibility that I could take that person out. Right? This is why I am so supportive of firearms, because they equalize. And this is what I tell people, just to kind of to drive home the point. I wouldn't do this, but I'm just making the point. I just told you I'm 5'3" and I weigh 120 pounds. Okay. I can overpower most women that I know, even women that are bigger than me. I can overpower most of them at my size. So for me, if nothing else, like, this is a good way for women to defend themselves. And they should. Every woman should be carrying. And then she should train regularly so that if that moment comes that she needs to use it, she doesn't hesitate and she uses it wisely. Because I want every woman to be able to go home to their families, right, as unharmed as possible. But also men, because I want men to defend themselves. So yes, an armed society is a polite society. Let's see, what else we got in here? Kagela says, I have heard that most killings in the U.S. are not dependent on guns. Might be true. I can't speak to that, but perhaps. Let's see. Give people a choice. Most would choose the licensed professional over an unlicensed one, but having the freedom to choose is your right. Yes. And the other thing that I'll point out when it comes to licensing is that for libertarians, and I don't want to get into too much politics here, but we look at things and we say the free market can provide a similar mechanism. So I believe that the free market would provide a way for me to tease out who is qualified to do brain surgery and who is not. When it comes to like hair cutting, it's a pretty simple one, word of mouth. We could just be like, yeah, that barber, don't go to that barber. They're terrible, right? And everybody knows what a good haircut looks like. Everybody. Like, I could, if I had hair, I could walk in with a brand new haircut. And if my wife looked at me, she could take one look and determine whether or not I got a good haircut or not. My wife she doesn't cut hair. You know who else doesn't cut hair? This guy right here. There's a photo, I wish I had it, of when I cut my son's hair. It was so bad. It was so bad. It literally looked like a bowl cut, like literally putting a bowl and just cutting around. It looked like that. And it was so bad. It's so awful. But guess what? Within a couple of weeks, it grew back. No harm, no foul, right? But everybody could tell. They were like, who cut his hair? It was his daddy, wasn't it? His dad cut it. That was a terrible job. Like, everybody could look and say, that was a terrible haircut, right? Well, the market can provide mechanisms for other things that are more important. So just want to point that out. All right, let's see what else we got in here, folks. Yes, John says, the firearm is the great equalizer. Shout out the band Backwards for their song, The Great Equalizer. Oh, okay. Eric July has a song. I know who Backwards is, Eric July, and they have a song called The Great Equalizer. I'm going to go check that out. I don't generally, like, I'm old now and I'm busy, reading and preparing for the podcast. So I don't get to check out new music unless I hear something interesting. And I've heard of Eric's, music, but now I'm going to go check out that song. So thank you for that. Oddsman says Dexter Taylor did nothing wrong and Kathy Hochul's a bigot. Yes, totally 100% agree. And good morning to you. All right, let's get on to this last item here that I have. So this is another video, and I thought this was interesting, and I wanted to just kind of give some encouragement to dads out there. And again, we always include moms, but this is Dad Talk, so I am focused on talking to dads. So let's watch this last one.
Don't be surprised when you send your kids off to Caesar and they come back as Romans. That's it. That's it, man. You're wondering why everyone's gone woke and has no idea what bathroom to use anymore. Just If like, what happened to our kids? I'm like, well, you gave them to the government for their entire childhood. You saw them at dinner and you attended their sporting events, but the government raised your kids, and social media helped, and video games or whatever. But you saw them every day, but you didn't raise them. You didn't log enough hours each day to counteract all the poison and time wasting and ideological propagandistic crap that they were getting fed year after year after year. And so millennial generation and now Gen Z has gone woke. And we feel like, oh, what happened to my daughter? We raised him better than that. No, I mean this in love, but you didn't raise him at all. That hurts to say because I know it hurts people to hear. And we trusted that they were being taught good information that wasn't undermining our values. But there's been a psyop in play for decades, which is undermining our values and waging war against the family unit.
All right. So I agree. There is now, I don't know that I would phrase it as a psyop. It could just be the natural course of things. You have a government. The government has an incentive to grow, and it wants to do all these things for people. People want things to be done for them, right? We're busy in our hectic lives. Hey, go sit down and watch some TV. Daddy's got to work. Mommy has to work. Whatever. I get it. There are realities. But I think the key takeaway here is um, to make sure that you are spending adequate time with your family. Spend time building your family. Now, what does that mean? Okay, well, as much as you possibly can, get involved in every aspect, every single aspect. If nothing else, learn about it, right? Maybe your kid is playing video games and you hate video games. You're just like, I hate them. I'd rather work. Okay. You're still a dad. Remember what I just said a moment ago? I have high expectations of dads, and I don't want laws getting in the way. Okay. Well, in this particular case, no law is getting in the way if you're a dad of sitting down with your kid and saying, tell me about your game here. What's going on? Just, yeah, I'm not going to play, son, but I want to learn about it. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me, build that relationship with your son. If you have a daughter that's into video games, same thing, right? Or whatever she's into, sit down. And we see the pictures like all the time of like a dad sitting down having a tea party. We enjoy the pictures of, say, like a big burly dad, the guy that would walk in the room and every man looks at him and he basically commands attention because he's big, he's burly, he looks alpha, he's got this swagger that he's coming in with, and we instantly respect him, right? And we're like, no man can tame this guy. And then you see maybe him sitting down, with some makeup on his face, sipping out of a tiny little pretend cup, pretend to sipping out of a cup with a little girl at a tea party. We love seeing that. And that's great. I love it. Right. That's what it means to be a man, to be a husband, to be a dad, is that you're taking a vested interest in your family. Sit down with them. And if nothing else, hear them out. You don't have to solve a problem per se. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be something that you both enjoy per se, right? It helps if you can find something. If you're into fishing and your kid's into fishing, then great, go fishing. Tell your wife, hey, me and our son, me and our daughter, we're going to spend Saturday fishing. Invite her maybe, or maybe it's time for the kids, whatever, right? Get vested in there. And I say this because here's a reality that libertarians don't like to hear, but we have to come face to face with it, and we have to be honest with ourselves. Most people are not going to turn around and yank their kids out of school and homeschool. Most of them aren't going to do it for any number of reasons. Like, I don't homeschool. My wife and I work from home. You might think like, well, they could totally. My wife has a double master's. I don't have any masters or any cool degrees. I feel like I'm a pretty smart fellow, you know? And so you might think, well, why aren't you homeschooling your kids? The biggest problem that we had, And my wife asked me one single question and just stopped it. Because initially I was like, yeah, we should probably homeschool. And then she said, um, your son loves people. He loves being around other kids, other people, blah, blah, blah. She goes, we both work from home and I get it. Homeschooling might only be a couple of hours a day. What is he going to do the rest of the hours? And we were like, I don't know. Who's he going to associate with? And we had already had experiences where, he wants our attention. We're trying to work and then he's really bored and sad. And so we don't use it as a babysitter. Okay. What we do is we're like, this is an opportunity for him to socialize with other people because we know that he really thrives on being around and engaging with other people. Now, there are times where it's like, hey, you've had a good day today, go play by yourself for a few minutes, right? So he does hear that. Uh, but ultimately, we decided that homeschooling would not work for us, that there were challenges that, we didn't think we could easily overcome. And so we made a decision that he goes to school, but we stay heavily involved. When he comes home, what did you do to school today? What did you learn? Okay, who did you play with? What did you do? What about this? Right? We we keep up with his homework. So we're constantly looking at it. We're constantly, he gets a lot of homework already. And so we'll work with him on his homework. We read with him, right? We're just constantly engaged so that even though he's going to a school, right? Which we might, and it technically is a public school. It's a magnet school. No, it's not a magnet school. It's a charter school. It's a charter school, and so it's technically a public school. It's just a higher quality one. But we stay involved. We talk to his teachers on a regular basis. We learn what's going on. He's interested. Like he likes his tablet. And he's like, oh, playing a game or he's watching a show. What are you watching? We're constantly getting involved. Let's go outside. Let's take a walk. Let's go ride bikes together. Hey, mommy and daddy are going here. We're going to take you with us. Right. And so, what I would tell you, parents out there who, maybe you don't like what you're seeing out there that your child is being introduced to. But maybe you're also not in a position to homeschool your kids. Fine. I get it. I'm there with you. But that doesn't relieve you of the obligation that you have to be as vested, to show that you are as invested in every aspect of their life as you possibly can. And so for that, there's no excuses. And it'll vary from different people to maybe you're a dad, right? Then you work in a factory and you work 12-hour shifts. And by the time you come home, you're exhausted. So you're not going to have as much time available to engage with your kid. Okay. But you got to work it out and figure out how much time can I possibly squeeze out because that's your family. You have a responsibility to defend them, to be invested in them. And yeah, I get it. There are days you don't want to. And maybe occasionally you say, look, family, it's been a particularly rough week. Today was really rough. I'm going to need a little bit of time and we will catch up tomorrow. That's okay. But make sure when tomorrow comes, you catch up. Stay involved. I cannot repeat that enough. And plenty of parents are very involved with their kids and their families. And guess what? Their kids don't grow up to be something crazy and they're like, what happened? Right? But you have to be involved. And I've had dads on here like I had two different dads on here. And I'll tell this story real quickly and then we'll go to comments and we'll head on out. But I had two different dads come on for dad talk. Both of them were talking about their child becoming trans. Now, in one story, the guy said he felt like, hey, my child is probably telling me the truth and that they were trans and they went with that. Now, I don't think that just to cut everybody off before you flip out, I don't believe that they did anything related to surgery. I know that gets on, that really gets people going. And I can't speak to whether or not they went the pharmaceutical route. Okay. So there was at least what they call the social transitioning, which means like, hey, you can dress the way you want to dress. You can cut your hair, blah, 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 those things. Okay. That's what he felt was right for his family. Now, I'm not a big fan of this whole, your kids are trans, but he has to live with the family that he is managing. Okay, so do that. And he was stayed invested. And I will say this in his favor. If your child reaches out to you and tells you, Dad, I'm trans, in some ways that's a good sign because they reached out. Now, maybe they're not trans and you need to work that out. Maybe they are, whatever, right? I'm not here to argue that particular point at this moment. But the point being, that's the kind of relationship that you should have, where if your child decides anything, they're willing to be open with you. That's the kind of family you want. Stay invested. The other dad, they found that, hey, their daughter started acting differently. They went from the daughter, she went from, enjoying family activities, waking up in the morning, coming out, good morning, dad, how you doing, mom, to being more recluse, not wanting to be involved in the family, events, being, a little bit more difficult than what they were previously used to. And so they're like, okay, there's a change in behavior here for the worse. What's going on? And they traced it back to, you are involved in a group of friends, you are not trans, and you need to be, pulled away from this group of friends because they're not good for you. They pulled her out of school, put her in a different school, and said, all right, you can't be around those people anymore. And then the report was, after a few months, things settled down and she went back to being that happily involved family member that she once was. Okay? That's what it means to be invested in your kid. And in that particular case, she was going to a school and they pulled her out and went to another school. So you see what I'm getting at here? No excuses to not be involved in your family. None. And maybe there will be days where you don't have time. Maybe there are days where you just need an extra nap, extra rest. Maybe you need to decompress. I get it. And that's what, having a good spouse is for. There are days, sometimes my wife is just like, look, I'm stressed. There's a lot going on. And I'm like, and she's like, I would like to go out with some of my girlfriends, and when they go out, that just means like they go to a coffee shop. So I'm not like, she's not like, they're not going out partying and living it up and, getting hammered. We're not talking about that going out. Those were our days 20 years ago. We're too old for that now, but she'll go out with her girlfriends and she's like, look, I just like, go. I got our son. I got grandma. I will take care of things. And then there are times where it's me. I'm like, man, I've been cooped up in the house. I haven't had any, adult conversation. I need to get out. And my wife will be like, all right, why don't you go and do this thing? Whatever. Right. And so maybe I'll go out and I'll spend a day or whatever, doing something, or I'll hang out one evening, all night long with my buddy. We'll go to the cigar bar or something like that. Right. You know, so that's what we do. That's how we build our family. That's how we stay invested in each other, is we find the time and we try to balance all of it. And we don't always get it right. You won't. And that's okay. Keep striving to build the family that you want, right? And then people like me, I will keep trying to defend you, holding the expectations high, and support you all along the way. So that's what Dad Talk is about. It's about supporting dads, building families, building the society that I want, starting with us. So if you're a dad, it starts with you, buddy. And good luck. And I got your back. Like, I'll be there for you. Okay? All right, let's get into some comments here. And then we're going to head on out and have a good weekend. Let's see what we got here. Yes, going back to Dexter, and the news media's mindless bias in Dexter's case is maddening. It is, right? Like, when you look at the evidence, you see that there was just a guy, he was a hobbyist, and he was building, I don't even think he even fired any of his guns. He just said he found something he liked doing and did it. I don't think he was selling them in this particular case. He just had them. I think he was maybe giving away free plans, think that might have been how they found out about him. I think, if I remember the story correctly. It's been a minute since I read up on the story, but there's no reason for him to be in jail, not for a hobby. Like I have a friend, he does miniatures. That's his thing. Like other people maybe have firearms. Like I like 3D printing firearms. I enjoy woodworking. I think every man should have a hobby. And you pick a hobby that works for you. So let's see. I kept my kids. Time Surfing Alien says I kept my kids in sports and band. I made practice presence is paramount. It is. It absolutely is. And you have to do as much as you possibly can. And it's gonna be different. My wife and I, we work from home. We have a lot more flexibility with our schedule to be involved with our kid. So he gets more than maybe some other kids. And I would not dog another dad who does not have the time to be involved as I do. But you have to look and figure out where can you maximize and then do that. And if you're doing the absolute best you can, great. You're an awesome dad. And your kids will recognize it as they grow up. They will see, they will know. We've heard stories, right, of somebody that's like, when I was growing up, my dad didn't have lots of money, but man, he made sure that I had, a sandwich and, a juice and an orange every day in my lunch, something like that, right. But people will say these kind of stories because as you grow up, you will learn, you will know whether or not your parents are really putting in the effort to properly be a parent. You will know. And you'll know that even if they couldn't spend as much time with you as they wanted, that they really worked hard to spend the time that they did. You'll know that. Your kids will know that. So do it. Let's see, what else? Oh, okay. I was like, I saw the phones in prison don't mix. And I was like, are we talking about prison? But see if you can have Dexter on the show. That would be actually, I'm going to reach out. I think if I remember correctly, my friend Jeff Charles had him on his show. I think. I'm going to reach out and see how he did it. Somebody I know, I believe, did have him on the show. I'm going to see if I can't make that happen. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. That Liberty Lady says, I lost all my guns in a boating accident. Tragic. It is. It's very unfortunate. Better go buy some new ones. Let's see. John says, though I'm not a dad, but I do take interest in my nephew's things, especially with how often they watch YouTube. Yes. Yes. My friend Steve, he's been on the show a couple times. He comes over like almost every Friday night. He is not a father, but he is an uncle. And he takes interest in his nieces and nephews. And I'm telling you, that contributes. That is part of being in a family. Like it's a little bit outside of the direct and immediate family, but it is still there. And that is a value add. Absolutely. If you're a man, and again, this all applies to women as well. If you're a man and you don't have kids, that's okay. Maybe you only have a wife and you're not having kids for whatever reason. That's okay. If you happen to have some nieces and nephews, man, take some interest in them, right? I think that's a good thing. Reinforce the family because look, being a parent is tough. And there will be a day when I tell my son, hey, don't do that. And he'll be like, yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And it helps to have an uncle reinforce and be like, maybe pull him aside later and be like, your dad's right. Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, or, hey, just talk to them, whatever. Right. But yes, this reinforces the family. And I am really big on the family. I want people to have good, happy families. And so if you're a man and you're not a dad, you can still participate. Or there's so many things you could do. You can go mentor if you have the time. That's another way. I've done that in the past. You could just simply express support for other dads. When you see something in social media comes up that's a good story, you can just repost it and say, this is some awesome stuff. And then other people see it, right? Kind of spread the word of what we want. There are so many ways that you can contribute, but yes, absolutely. Your nephews, is that what he said? Nephews? Yeah, nephews. Yeah, take interest in their things. That's great. Love it. Also, American Express snitched on Dexter, which is how they caught him. Oh, okay. It's been a while since I saw the story, and I've forgotten the details. Okay, so Amex, they did it. Okay, so just know that I'm not going to say we boycotting Amex, but like I don't have a card, and I'm not in a rush to get one either. Because I don't think you should be snitching on people for what they purchase, and I don't think the government, like, if there's a law that in any way says, hey, tell us, we should repeal that law, period. So oppose those laws. Speaking of laws, I'll be back Monday to talk about a law, talk about a bill. In fact, I'll even give you a heads up of what it is. Let me find it really quickly here. It was on social media. I saw it. Let me see here. Let me go to my profile and I'll go to my replies. Let's see here. Because I told somebody, I was like, what is it? Oh, you know what? I think it's here. I think I said, let me see here. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, here it is. So this is a bill from Maria Salazar, a congresswoman. I don't know which state she's a congresswoman out of, but apparently she has a bill. And the summary is if you are under 18 when you came into the country, for whatever reason, you'll get a 4-year path to citizenship. If you were over 18, you get what is effectively permanent residency with no path to citizenship, and you don't have to pay payroll taxes. And then the only deportable aliens will be criminal aliens and aliens that came in under Biden, and everybody else will get to stay. So I'm gonna review that bill, and we'll see if I actually like that bill or not. I don't know. Y'all know my position on immigration. I only want to kick out people that are violent criminals or who have destroyed property or stolen property, like major crimes. But everybody else, I want to figure out how to incorporate you into society. That's the summary. That's my elevator pitch. So we'll see if I can get on board with this bill. Now, will this bill pass? More than likely not. And I'll explain those reasons why. It's more than just, hey, you got Republicans that are siding with Donald Trump and they're working to kick a bunch of people out. It's more than that. I'll explain some of the political games that get played when it comes to bills. So, but for now, we're going to head out. Thank you for joining the show. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you're a dad, make sure that you reach out. Have a good one, folks. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this episode informative and inspiring. Be sure to catch me Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. for an informed discussion on politics and culture. Make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, or if you prefer my Rumble channel, you can go to youtube.libertydad.com, or you can go to rumble.libertydad.com. While you are there, let me know how I'm doing by leaving me a comment. You can also become part of the community by heading over to libertydad.locals.com. Remember, if you're a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. I want you to have a great week. Catch you next time. But for now, I'm out.